Imagine living in a small rented house filled with as many as 3 other families. Imagine if you could only get a primary education. Imagine if you had to worry about being arrested by a corrupt police officer and held for ransom. Imagine if the only non-corrupted officials were killed by drug cartels. Imagine a 14-year-old being a hitman for the drug cartels. If you were born just a few hours south of here to one of the 44% of Mexicans living in poverty in Mexico, you would not have to imagine, because sadly that would be your reality. One family has little hope to turn the entire country around, so what are they to do? Many people in this situation face a very hard decision. They can try to survive and prosper in Mexico, or they can leave their family for an uncertain future in America. The Center for Immigration Studies estimates that there are 11 million people living in America illegally. The Pew Research Center estimates that 56% of that population is from Mexico, while another 22% are from Latin America. The Pew Research Center also estimates that there are about 500,000 new illegal entries every year. This topic is hotly contested in the world of politics, but is a very complicated issue that should be looked at in more than just liberal versus conservative viewpoints, which is what we are going to do today. First, we will look at the problems of illegal immigration, then we will look at the causes, and finally we'll look at some possible solutions. There's a lot of controversy about what is and what is not detrimental to America when it comes to immigration, so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I personally believe to be problems. If people are in the country illegally, they cannot work legally. That means they will have to be paid under the table. This is not only bad for the illegal worker that's not being paid a fair wage, but also bad for anybody competing for that same job. Companies that are not paying fair wages are able to undercut the competition on the backs of their employees. They're being paid under the table. They are not able to pay Social Security, Medicaid, or federal taxes. The only taxes that may be paid are state and local taxes, along with some property taxes. Even though many taxes are not paid, everyone in this country is still able to receive many services that are provided for by the government. Those services include first responders, such as firefighters and police officers, park services, roads, emergency rooms, and a variety of other services. Many illegal workers use fake or stolen documents. This raises a whole other issue of identity theft, and if those documents are so easy to get, then it also raises national security questions. Those are some of the problems that are caused by illegal immigration, but what are the causes? I opened up having you imagine some pretty extreme situations. But there are many cases of those types of things happening today. If I were a Mexican citizen, the thing that would make me want to flee the country would be the drug cartels. The American war on drugs purpose is to reduce the illicit drug trade, while the Mexican war on drugs refers to the drug lords fighting over territory. From 2006 until 2012, the official death toll in the war on drugs in Mexico was 60,000 people. Poverty is also a large concern. The more rural areas of Mexico do not have the same educational infrastructure that most of the other developed countries have. In some parts of the country, illiteracy is almost 8%. This keeps the poor and uneducated with little chance for advancement in their own country. Finally, the American government does little to protect the border, while at the same time it is nearly impossible for a poor family to immigrate legally unless they have a close relative already in the country, and even then it takes 2 to 12 years for the request to be granted. I'm now going to propose some solutions to the problem of illegal immigration. There are many things that the Mexican and American governments can do together to solve this issue. According to the Pew Research Center, 80% of Mexican citizens would be in favor of an American military forces helping them train the police and army to fight the drug cartels. If people have their most very basic needs of safety met, then they can move on to resolve more economic and educational issues. A more robust education system will lead to a more educated workforce, and expand the middle class. In order for an economy to grow, the middle class must also grow. If the future of life in Mexico was not so bleak, there would not be as many people trying to enter America. On a more local level, there are two major things that the American government alone can help do to reduce this issue. The first thing is to secure the border. Not only hardworking families cross that border. There are drug traffickers, sex traffickers, criminals, and even terrorists that can cross that border. In many cases, it is the smugglers that keep people away from crossing the border and not border control. 90% of the cocaine traded in America comes from the Mexican drug cartels. If the border were to be secured, we would greatly reduce the costs or the power of the drug cartels because they would be unable to get to their customers. We definitely need to make it harder to come to America illegally, but at the same time, and this is where I fear I may lose some of you, is that we need to make it much easier to come to America legally. Many of the problems associated with immigration are only problems because the immigrants do not have legal status to work in the United States. I am not saying that we should let everyone come here freely, but at the same time, by making it so hard to legally immigrate, and so easy to come in here illegally, we end up doing just that. And then we end up letting in the people that are brave enough to make the journey while excluding the people that do not want to break the law. I think we are a smart country and can be a little bit more selective than that. If the borders were closed, we could allow many more participants from Mexico and Central America to participate in the diversity lottery program run by the Immigration and Naturalization Services. Some highly skilled labor is allowed into the country via the Immigration Service today. However, poor and unskilled labor has no chance of legal immigration, and they are the ones that would benefit the most. America will always have a need for some sort of unskilled labor pool. The current system of illegal labor does not increase the unemployment rate in America significantly. So why would a smaller stream of unskilled labor affect it? The continuing arguments and campaigning on this issue has done little to actually help the problem. On a personal note, when you hear the news analysts talk about immigration in terms of costs and numbers, please remember that we are talking about people, not just numbers. This is my niece, and although she was born in America, her mother came to the country from El Salvador undocumented. Her mother's path to obtain a legal status took many years and was finally granted because of an earthquake in El Salvador. When someone says we need to send everyone back to their country, how could any of you agree? I would not want Trina to be ripped from her mother's arms. I know that I would not want that. Even if you do not know Trina that well, everyone cares about someone that would be affected if some of the more conservative approaches came to fruition. The numbers can at times be scary, but always remember that those numbers are mothers, brothers, grandfathers, and yes, even children. Today we have discussed the complex issues of immigration that is facing our country. We looked at some problems caused by immigration, why those problems existed, and some possible solutions. I do not have all the answers to this complicated issue. I just ask that when you hear about it and when you think about it, that you think about the people, not just the situations. I will leave you on this Independence Day with words inscribed on one of the greatest icons of the American way of life, the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send me the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Does anybody have any questions? What's your question?
Okay, so by letting more people come in here, wouldn't that lower our standards of education because more people are going to be provided education and more taxes are going to be given?
Okay, that's a very good question. And, you know, I don't have all the answers, but in my proposal would be that the first thing we do is close down the border so that we are reducing the 500,000 people that are coming every year, but at the same time opening it up, 100,000 or maybe even 500,000, I don't know the number, people to come here legally. So it would be probably less people, but at the very least the same if we could actually close down the borders to where people weren't getting across at any time they wanted to. Are there any other questions?
Okay, what is the diversity lottery you talked about?
So the diversity lottery is a program run by the Naturalization Service, and what it does is they allow a certain amount of people to come to America. Usually it's because they're married to somebody, or they're close family and friend, or close family, sorry, not friends, or they have some sort of job and the employer is going to vouch for them, which that's not really the case for somebody that's coming from a poor, unskilled labor type of place. So the diversity lottery is people apply every year to be a part of this lottery, and there are certain countries that are excluded from that lottery, and Mexico and all of Central America are pretty much done. They're never allowed in the lottery. So unless one of those other situations apply to me, and I'm from Mexico, then I'm not going to come. I can't come unless I cross the border illegally. So if we allowed more people into that program, then they could come legally and they would not have to face all the problems of illegal immigration. Well, I want to just say thank you all for watching my videos over the last 4 weeks, and thank you to my photographer, and I'm sorry that I had a phone call in the middle of my speech. Hopefully it didn't disturb anyone too much. Thank you, and have a nice day.